The adventure with General Hospital is just fascinating to all of us who have read about it.
Okay.
I've never had the chance to talk to you about it. But now you've just finished that 2 days ago, right? I mean,
Yeah.
And that gigantic shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And where's it? So this is a big deal. And yet, what you're doing is, to our pedestrian minds, highly unusual. What was the notion that got you into it?
Well, that was a project that developed different aspects over time. So I did a project with an artist named Carter about 3 years ago. We did a film together that I didn't title, called Erase James Franco. And that title and the project was inspired by a painting by Robert Rauschenberg called Erase de Kooning, where essentially he asked de Kooning for a painting and then he erased it. So Carter approached me about doing a similar thing with a performance. And the initial idea, I'll talk about this for this. So the initial idea was that I would just sit in a chair and give a full feature-length performance in my head, but only 10% of that performance would be allowed to come to the surface. And then you have an erased performance. And I thought, well, conceptually that's very interesting. But what I asked Carter, what are your intentions with this? Where would you show something like this? Because I don't think you could get an audience to sit in a theater and watch something like that for an extended period. And he said, oh, really, you think? I said, well, I think it's something you put on a wall and people watch 20 seconds of and we get the idea and then move on. So I don't know. I said, well, all right, well, let's do a test. So we did a test and we watched it back and just me sitting in a chair doing nothing. And I said, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe it shouldn't be 10% coming to the surface. Maybe it should be 50%. So then that project started developing, and then it turned into something more. So once there was more coming to the surface, we actually had to have material that I'd be reenacting. So, sorry, I'll get to this. What we decided I would reenact was clips or scenes from films that I'd acted in previously, as well as some scenes from an old Rock Hudson movie called Seconds, and also scenes that Julianne Moore played in Todd Haynes' movie Safe. So we made that film, and I'm very proud of it, and I think it's a very interesting project. But what it showed me was, oh, as an actor, I don't have to only be in narrative commercial films where I'm playing a character that is serving to bring an audience into an imaginary situation, to help them believe in this imaginary situation. I can do performances that are doing something else, that are more minimal, that are getting audiences to think on a different level, or that are not necessarily helping them with their suspension of disbelief. And so that started me thinking in various ways about performance and the projects I was doing. And so, sorry, this is such a long answer. Carter and I are planning to do another movie called Maladies. Maladies. And that'll star myself and Julianne Moore, Kathy Bates, and Catherine King. And in that film, we haven't shot it yet, in that film, I will play a character who was formerly on a soap opera. So that got us, Carter and I, talking about, well, what if you did a soap opera, James? Not that it's necessary, obviously, you don't need to murder somebody to play a murderer, but it just got us talking, So I thought, why don't I just try it and see what it's like, just as an experiment. And my manager represents Steve Burton, who's one of the stars of General Hospital. So we called up General Hospital and told them that I was interested, and they were very excited. I just wanted the full General Hospital treatment. So all I said was that I wanted to be an artist and I wanted to be crazy. And I wanted their version of that. And so they wrote me this character, and then they came up with everything. I mean, it was better than I could have imagined. And they came up with the idea that we would call the character Franco. And, so originally I shot, the original arc I shot about 20 or so episodes over the course of 3 working days. So that meant on one day, the record for me was 77 pages in one day we shot, which is more than half of a feature film script done in one day. And so it was a great experience, and it came on, and the response was very interesting. You know, people were like, "What is it doing?" And I felt like it was a very interesting situation where, because in a way it felt like I was an imposter, or at least people's reaction to my being on the show was that of somebody imposing on the show, but also that the character's name was Franco. I felt like it was going to be very difficult for anybody at least anybody who knew who I was, to watch those shows and not be aware that it was me, James Franco, there. And so suddenly you're not being sucked into this soap opera world. You're the real world and the fictional world are being, tied together.
Boy, I think I'm sorry I asked you that question.
So then I thought, well, how can I get even more kind of ownership over this? So I approached Jeffrey Deitch, who was running his gallery in New York, Deitch Projects, and I said, I want to do an art show about it. He was very excited about the idea. We were going to show the character Franco's paintings in his gallery, and then also show sets from the show as sculptures. But then he said, well, we should take it further. So he and I started talking about a very special episode of General Hospital that would be shot in a real art space, his gallery. And the characters would be reacting to these sets where, that as characters they were treating as real places, but now they have to react to them as, sculptures. So then, long story, he was made head of MoCA, and we brought the project to MoCA, and we shot it 2 nights ago.
Which brings us back to the question which you perhaps shouldn't get into, but you raised in the piece in the New York Times, and that is, it's a performance, but is it art?
Oh, the Wall Street one, yeah.
So, I mean, that's a perplexing question.
Maybe an annoying question to some people.
Since you are very careful not to answer the question in your writings, do you do it as art or as performance?
Well, they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, there's many performance artists that are celebrated in galleries and museums. What this project became for me was a full melding of both the soap opera world and the art world, and in a lot of ways I feel like it's seamless, and that is, and the big question I think that a lot of people were asking that came to MoCA the other night is, wow, is it art? Is it art? And I think I have no doubt that it's art. It's the commercial world and the advertising world and the commercial television world and film world have for years taken from the art world and used things that artists have done and appropriated it. So if the art world can then go into this commercial world and bring it into the art world, I'm very interested in that. And it's not, it's not a new thing either. I mean, there's been pop art, around for
Sure.
50 years.